Okay, today we're going to talk about stroke length in putting, why it's so important and why it's important that you understand it. It's very likely you've heard the putting stroke described as a pendulum motion, where the club would go 50% back and then it would go 50% through. There's a little bit of an issue with that understanding and also with the way it's described to people. So if you've ever heard that you need to accelerate when you hit a putt, putting, pitching, chipping, bunker shots, any sort of abbreviated stroke usually gets this associated with it. You got to accelerate. And that's true. You are accelerating, but you're accelerating at a proper pace. You're not just accelerating. Anybody that's driven with a new driver in a car understands that there is such a thing as improper acceleration. The example I like to use for people is if I just drop a ball and you watch how high it bounces, not very high, right? That ball was still accelerating. Gravity was pulling it down. Now, if I were to do this, it bounces quite a bit higher, right? So both of those things were accelerating, they were just accelerating at different rates. So often what will happen when people think about accelerating through putts is this. So I made that putt and I was accelerating through it. The problem is I had a very short backstroke and a very long follow through. You can go back and watch that again just to check it. And what happens is ultimately I end up pushing putts. And when you push putts, you're creating tension. Tension in your hands, tension in your arms. And what that does is if I put tension in my right hand, so watch this, I'll put tension in my right hand. You see the face close? Now I'll put tension in my left hand. You see the face open, right? So if I'm creating tension at the wrong time, the face is moving all over the place, right? If I take a longer backstroke and a shorter follow through, what I'm doing is I'm hitting it with the momentum of the stroke rather than adding too much additional force. Now then you get the problem when people are saying, well, if you're just hitting it with the natural acceleration of the club, is there any energy in it? And there absolutely is, because if I drop this club and put as little tension and friction here as I can and let it swing through the other side, is it going to swing through higher, the same height, or lower? If you look, it swung through just a little bit lower. And that's because there's forces acting upon it, right? Friction from the air, gravity, all those sorts of things. A little bit of tension in my hand, of course. So if I want to get a true pendulum stroke, I do have to actually add a little force. So now I'm going to add a little force to my hand here, and you'll see pretty much 50 back, 50 through. So then you'd say, well, Matt, shouldn't it be 50-50 in terms of a ratio? And the answer is it would be if I wasn't hitting anything at the bottom. Since I'm impacting something at the bottom, if you picture a grandfather clock, there's a little motor that makes it go back and forth the exact same amount. If you were to just barely touch it at the bottom, that next follow-through point would be a little shorter. And then it would go back to its natural stroke because the motor's going to fix that. So when we're trying to learn to putt, I really recommend to people 60% back, 40% through as a starting point to really understanding stroke length and pace. So if you say, I could go further back and shorter through, and I tried to go 70-30 or 80-20 to kind of demonstrate that for you, it's a really good, consistent way to putt. Watch some of the best putters in the world, Jordan Spieth, Cam Smith, John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, Patrick Cantlay. I can keep going. Ricky Fowler's a great putter. And if you watch their stroke length, you're really not going to find any of them pushing the ball to the hole. You'll get a few really talented players out there like Hideki Matsuyama and Dustin Johnson come to mind who are a little pushy. They're maybe 40% back to 60% through, but they also struggle with consistency in the putting game. So take a look at those examples. Think about what I said. I look forward to any questions or comments that you might have.